Imagine walking into a supermarket with a $50 bill. You grab a carton of eggs, a loaf of bread, some milk, maybe a few vegetables. You barely filled half your basket. Then you look up at the checkout screen. $50? Gone. You leave wondering the same question millions of people ask almost every day. When did everything become so expensive? Was it greedy companies? Governments printing too much money? Supply chain problems? Wars? Or is something much bigger happening behind the scenes? Because here's the strange part. Throughout history, people have complained that prices were getting out of control. Ancient Romans did it. Medieval merchants did it. People during the Great Depression did it. Even 2,000 years ago, Roman Emperor Diocletian believed merchants were charging ridiculous prices and tried to freeze them by law. It failed spectacularly. By the end of this video, you'll understand why prices almost always rise over time, why your grandparents could buy a house for what sounds like pocket change today, and why inflation isn't just about money. It's actually about one simple rule that has shaped every economy in human history. Let's find out. Imagine an island with just 10 people. Every year they grow exactly 100 coconuts. Everyone has enough to eat. Now imagine someone discovers a magical machine that doubles everyone's money overnight. The island suddenly has twice as much money. But here's the problem. There are still only 100 coconuts. More money, same amount of food. What happens? People start offering more money to buy the same coconuts. The coconuts didn't become more valuable. The money became less valuable. This is the basic idea behind inflation. Prices don't always rise because things become better. Sometimes they rise because money buys less than it used to, but if it were that simple, governments could just stop printing money forever. Except history shows it isn't. Let's go back nearly 2,000 years. The Roman Empire was running out of silver. For centuries, Roman coins contained real silver. People trusted them because the metal itself had value. Then emperors faced a problem. Wars were expensive. Roads were expensive. Armies wanted to be paid. Instead of raising taxes too much, they quietly reduced the silver inside each coin. At first, nobody noticed. A coin still looked like a coin. But eventually merchants realized they were receiving less silver than before. So they raised prices, the government blamed greedy sellers, the sellers blamed bad money, and the cycle continued. Sound familiar? Now jump forward to the modern world. Today's money isn't backed by gold or silver. Its value comes from trust. You accept a dollar because you know someone else will also accept it tomorrow. That trust allows economies to grow incredibly fast. But it also creates a balancing act. If money grows much faster than the amount of goods and services being produced, prices usually rise. Yet inflation has another side that people often miss. Sometimes, prices rise even when governments don't print huge amounts of money. Imagine a bakery. It needs flour, electricity, workers, delivery trucks. If fuel prices suddenly double, transporting flour becomes more expensive, electricity costs more. Workers ask for higher wages because their own living costs increase. The bakery now spends far more just to make the same loaf of bread. Eventually it has two choices: lose money or increase prices. This is called cost push inflation. The bread didn't suddenly become more luxurious. Everything needed to produce it became more expensive first. And this effect spreads through the economy like falling dominoes. One industry raises prices, another follows, then another. Before long, nearly everything costs more. Here's where things become even more interesting. Psychology matters almost as much as economics. Imagine everyone believes prices will be higher next month. People start buying today instead. Businesses see shelves emptying faster. They raise prices. Workers expect higher costs and negotiate bigger salaries. Companies increase prices again to cover those wages. People's expectations become reality. Economists call this an inflation spiral. Sometimes belief itself helps drive inflation forward. But here's something that seems completely backwards. A little inflation is actually considered healthy. That sounds ridiculous. Why would anyone want prices to rise? Because small inflation encourages people to spend and invest instead of hiding money under a mattress. Businesses build factories. People buy homes. Companies hire workers. Money keeps moving through the economy. If prices constantly fell instead, many people would simply wait. Why buy a television today if it will be cheaper next month? If everyone waits, businesses sell less. They hire fewer workers. The economy slows down. This is why central banks around the world often aim for low, steady inflation instead of zero inflation. Not too hot, not too cold, just enough to keep the economy moving. The lesson wasn't simply that too much money existed, it was that trust collapsed. So why is everything so expensive today? There isn't one single answer. Inflation is usually dozens of small forces pushing in the same direction. Almost every generation believed they were living through unusually expensive times. The names change, the currencies change, but the complaint stays remarkably familiar. Humans have always wanted more than the economy could instantly provide. That's why prices move. You're looking at fuel costs, global shipping, wages, harvests, interest rates, consumer confidence. A price tag is never just a number. It's the final chapter of a story that began long before you walked into the store. And understanding that story might be worth more than the money in your wallet.